Renate Lundberg, you are going to absolutely want to hold on to every word this woman says. She is a passionate entrepreneur, coach, supporter of anybody in the industry who is making a better life for themselves and their families. Renate is a firm believer and example that your obstacles will become opportunities if you just get up every day and pour honesty and integrity into everything you do. Then you will be on your way to growing a business that will be sustainable and fun. And Renate Lundberg, I've got to ask you, happiness is when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony. How does that ring true for you?
Well, Jody, it took me a few years, maybe even decades, to figure out that as soon as we become our authentic self, we have superpower. Many times, many of us women in particular, we believe that we have to be superwoman, that we have to put on this front, that we can do it all, take care of everybody. And I was definitely one of them. I lived in Germany at the time. It's a very different culture, highly, highly competitive. And by trying to be superwoman and put on that superwoman front, I wore myself out to the point where I got very, very ill. And I had to make a change. And so I came to the United States, not speaking any English. So it took me some time to understand the difference in culture and philosophy. But what I found over here is that it is much more acceptable to be real, to be who you are and be appreciated for it. I studied psychology, which I always wanted to do in Germany, but my dad died when I was very young and I didn't have the opportunity to go to college over there. So I jumped on the opportunity to go to college over here. It's a little tricky not learning or not knowing the language, but it can be done. And in 5 years of studying psychology and having to go through intensive counseling, which was mandatory part of the program, I learned a lot about myself. And really what I took away was that it is perfectly okay for me to think about how I want to live my life, to verbalize it, and then to put it into action. And that really puts me at peace. And I learned not to look for other people to make me happy, that it is me, myself, and I who creates my own happiness. And when I'm happy, I'm attracting people who contribute to my happiness. And I am really grounded in that, Jody. And I get up in the morning and I love what I do. I think you know that. And I love every single day. And I love my friends who are very important to me since I have very little family. And I love the business model that I found. I didn't know anything about the existence of it when I lived in Germany. And it really allows me to continuously meet the most amazing people. I would have never met you had it not been, or was it not for this brilliant business model. And here we are. I think you and I can consider each other friends. And you certainly contribute to my happiness and to my success and to, everything that is wonderful in my life.
Well, thank you. I'm very honored to be on the same wavelength as you. What is success to you?
Happiness. I think happiness is the biggest success that any one of us can achieve. And when we feel happy, we have something to give. We have a smile to give. We have a hug to give. We have kind words to give because we're so full of it. It just flows out of us. And, in this world right now where we see so many people being so divided over so many different belief systems or religions or whatever it may be, I believe that every single one of us can be a beacon of light for change because, we're all human beings. And when it's all said and done, we want to be loved. Isn't that really what we're after? And if we can give that love, we receive love. So it starts with us. We can be the change we want to be. And the more we embrace people for their differences, the more of a wonderful tapestry of individualism we create. I wouldn't be wanted to be surrounded just with like-minded people. I want to learn from people who have different belief systems, different philosophies, different religions. I was very fortunate in Germany. I chose not to go to my religion class in school. I went to an ethics class instead. And in that ethics class, we learned and studied and discussed all the different religions in the world, which I thought was much more interesting than just learning about my religion. So I'm always open to learning. I'm excited every morning getting out of bed thinking, oh my God, who am I going to meet today? What am I going to learn today? What's going to be different today? That's what keeps me going. That's what drives me.
So you have quite an interesting background. I mean, I know you came here like with a suitcase and a little boy, and both of you did not speak a word of English. What made you? I mean, to me, that story alone is just an amazing story. What drove you to continue like that? What even made you come to a country where you didn't even know anything and know anybody?
Well, I had a connection, I had my own business in Germany for 11 years, Jody. I started it when I was 22 years old. Fortunately, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. Sometimes it's a blessing in disguise when you don't know how difficult the road will be that you just chose.
Yeah.
So, but I think one thing that may be a bit different about me, once I start something, I see it through. So some people call it grit or discipline, whatever you want to call it. But I don't give up easily. Just because something gets difficult, that doesn't mean that it's not the right road to be on. That just means that I can get stronger, like resistance training. When we go to the gym, we don't put up the 5-pound weights all the time. Eventually, if we want to get stronger, we need a 10-pound weight or 20 or 25, right? So when something comes my way that does not go smoothly, I just see it as an opportunity to get stronger. So when I came to this country, I have to admit it was very scary to have my little 8-year-old boy on my hand and, looking around and I'm thinking, what if he gets hurt? I don't know the emergency phone number to call. I don't know where there's a hospital. I would not be able to tell a doctor what's wrong with him. So it was scary. I had panic attacks at night and, everything that goes with it. And I decided, okay, I can either go back to Germany, go back home and take the easy way out, or I can learn a new language. I can learn a new culture. I can expose my son and show him, role model for him that when things get tough, that we don't give up. I have lots of opportunity here. And I'm really glad that was the road we chose. It worked out beautifully for my son. He's doing exceptionally well. He has a beautiful wife, 2 gorgeous children, and is extremely happy to be here as well. So I opened the doors for both of us by not going back when things got tough.
I'm hearing a lot of resilience in you. And I'm wondering if this is your nature, just what you were born with, or is there something in your background? Or because you've had, yes, the tough times, but I didn't know if there was something more to that, is how you were raised or anything.
Yeah, I was raised pretty tough, I would say. Maybe not for German standards, but for sure for American standards.
Wait a minute, what do you mean by that? I'm sorry. What do you mean by that? I'm not following that one.
Well, I can just give you one example. I wanted for my birthday that my parents would walk me to school one time or pick me up from school one
Oh,
time. That was my birthday wish for all these years.
Oh,
And guess what? My parents never once did. So from first grade on, 6 years old, I walked to school by myself. It was about a mile and a half. And, I was one of the only ones who never got walked to school or never got picked up. So my parents had their own businesses and they worked a lot and they took care of the family and they provided really well for us. But it wasn't a very warm and comforting environment. I was from a very early age on my own, more or less. And just to tell you a little bit about the German school system, first grade, you walk in your classroom, it's white walls, all desks face forward. You have a 50-minute lecture. You have a 10-minute break. You go from school from 8 to noon. Then you walk home and you do 2 to 3 hours of worth of homework. And that more or less stays the same till you graduate from high school, which I went to a college prep school, which was very tough. I had 8 years of Latin and, all the 5-hour tests and written and oral tests to graduate from high school. Yeah, very different than it was over here. And here's probably the best distinction. There's no celebration after you are finished with high school. So your last day in school, they would line us up. There were no parents or no celebration. We were in the gymnasium. They lined us up. They called the students with the highest GPA first, congratulated them. They left. And the people with the lowest GPA were the last ones to get their diploma, and they left the gymnasium then last by themselves. No celebration, no congratulations. I came home from school that day, and my dad saw me, and he says, "You're home early." And I said, "Yeah, Dad, I'm done with high school." And he said, "Great, what are you going to do now?" So, it's a different culture. It's a different expectation. It's not the warm and fuzzy. There's no limousines. There's no prom dresses. I had no idea about any of this. So when I came to this country, I had a steep learning curve because, it was over there, it was all about performance and getting good grades and, going ready to go to college. And you're raised very independently over there. At least it was when I was there. It's been a long time and I'm sure things have changed, but not as warm and fuzzy.
well, that's very interesting. And I'm just curious because I don't know, I get this feeling of resilience coming from you. When you raised your children, did you get a little softer in some way, or might be the word? I mean, I'm sure you had a lot of resilience with them, don't get me wrong, but there seems to be a cultural clash if you keep up the German way there, Renata.
Yeah, Jody, very good question. Yeah. So, I was trying to find the balance because on one hand, I was so relieved that I didn't have to be that detached, stern, demanding parent, right? Because it's not really who I am. When I lived in Germany, I always felt so out of place. I never felt home in that culture, but I didn't know what it was because, I never had experience living in a different culture. So I always felt like the oddball out. I always felt like I didn't fit in. So when I came over here, it felt more like me. But in the beginning, I didn't want to allow that to happen, right? Because you have 32 years of being drilled to be this different person. So there needs to be a transition. So, my son and I, we definitely had some difficult times. For example, just to give you one example, my son went to school over here, and he's a pretty bright boy. And I made him do every single piece of homework every single day, right? All the assignments. And the first year he did it. The second year he comes home and he says to me, "I'm not doing homework anymore." And I said, "Okay, so what brought on that conclusion?" He says, "Well, I was sitting at a desk with 6 students today, and they're in the same 3rd grade as I am, and they didn't do any of the homework." So I thought, okay, you got a point. So how am I going to deal with this? So we definitely had some, conversation about a lot of different things at a very young age. Or another example was that he came home and he said, Mom, you need to buy me those $120 Nike pump up tennis shoes. And I said, I need to? And he said, yeah, you need to. Because my friends at school told me that if I don't have a pair of those, I can no longer be a friend.
Oh my gosh.
And I said, okay, let's talk about that, right? So let's talk about friendship. And so, the culture clashes brought up a lot of conversations at a young age that maybe we wouldn't have had otherwise. And I'm really glad we had the opportunity to have those. So, to make a long story short, we did not buy the $120 pump up tennis shoes, not because I didn't have the money, I had the money, but because we talked about that we're not buying friends. We want friends who are true friends, not because we wear the same tennis shoes. So, it's, there's a million stories like that, but all opportunities, Jody.
And I love that. And I love the way that you take a situation and you look at what the core is, what is the message? And that way, it's not really buying something outside, but you're starting inside out, is what I'm hearing. And
Yeah.
you are a leader. What do you think makes a good leader?
Oh my gosh. See, I never saw myself or see myself as a leader.
Interesting.
I do every single day what I think is the right thing to do. Like you said in the beginning, I want to make sure that everything is done with integrity, honesty, that anybody who I invite into an endeavor knows that I am sincerely inviting them because I believe and have done my due diligence that it is a good endeavor to invite somebody into. And I simply allow people to explore what I'm doing and see if it resonates with them. And maybe the only thing that I do a little differently than a lot of other leaders out there, I make myself available. And I think you know that, Jody. So if I, invite you into something, you have my cell phone, you know how to reach me. If you have a question, I'll answer it. I am by your side till you are where you want to be. There's no time limit with that, right? So I take personal responsibility for people's success, whatever that means for them. If success means better health, if success means, an extra few $100s, if it means a couple $1,000,000 a year, whatever success means to them, I will be by their side and support them to the best of my ability to reach their goals.
And I'm so impressed because you even said you don't consider yourself the word leader. And to me, that's what makes a leader. It's what the skill and what they are, how they model, rather than saying, okay, yes, you are a designated leader. Yes. However, when the way you look at yourself, and I think that's something so important for the people listening, it's how do we look at ourselves? Mm-hmm. Maybe none of us have that title of leader, that whatever that outside thing is, but inside we can have those same qualities that you are bringing out to all of us today. And I think that's something that's very important for all of us to hear.
Well, when you turn around and all of a sudden people follow you, I think it's only other people who can give you that designation, right? And I am not after designations. I just want to, for me, it's the greatest joy is when I can empower others and I can see their success and think, oh my God, maybe I'm a little tiny part of their life now being better. Right. And I always think of it in terms of when you, at Christmas or whatever holiday you celebrate and you open a present, it's fun to open a present. But when you see your children open a present, you have a completely different expression on your face, right? Yeah. And then you see your grandchildren open their presents. And oh my gosh, does it light you up? So that's how I see. I want to I want to role model that it can be done. So I will always do my part. If I get into an endeavor, I will not stop till I can prove that it can be done, whatever it is. Take relationship marketing. It's an easy example because we have ranks. So if I engage in a relationship marketing company, I will build it to the highest rank, not necessarily because I want to make all this money or I want to be on stage, but I want to prove that it can be done. Because if I don't do it, how can I tell somebody else to do it? And then I want to get to the back of the room, if you want to call it that, as quickly as possible and celebrate the people who are working with me, who gave me their trust, and, celebrate them. It's not about me. It's about empowering others. And I think that's what I love about this business model. When I was teaching and counseling for 8 years, Jody, I was in my counseling office, and particularly a lot of women would come in, and they were so distraught, either because they were in an abusive relationship and they just didn't have the money to get out, or their children were on drugs and they couldn't stay home because they had to earn money to support the family. And I always thought, oh my God, if I could only help, particularly women, create a good regular residual income so mom could stay home and be there when the kids come home from school, and the kids wouldn't get lost out there someplace, or if they ended up in the wrong relationship, that they would have the financial means to get out and create the life they really want to create. And then I learned about relationship marketing. I didn't know about it, and I took a closer look and I thought, oh my gosh, this is the vehicle I was always praying for. Here, I can help people have better health. I can help people have better finances. Which will allow people to create the life they want to create. So first I did it myself. And, after a few years, and I started in 2003. In 2007, I was able to retire my husband out of a 31-year engineering career. And so since 2007, my husband and I have been really enjoying life the way we want to enjoy it. If we want to fly to Australia first class, we'll fly there. And if we want to stay for 2 months, we'll stay for 2 months. If we're ready to come home, we'll come home. We're about to go to Europe. I was just talking to my tax accountant in Germany this morning for an hour, set up appointments, get everything ready. We'll go to Germany. After that, we'll go to England. And we're going to England because the dance instructors that my husband and I are dancing with are performing in Blackpool, which is one of the most prestigious ballroom dance competitions in the world. And we are going with them, and we will cheer them on. We're not dancing there. We're not good enough, but we're going with them to cheer them on. And I'm really looking forward to that. They're very dear friends by now, and we just adore them. They work so hard and they train so hard, and they're so sweet. They have 2 little boys, and the little boys are already dancing. It's a family affair, and it's just wonderful to be associated with them. And after that, we'll go to London because we have a beautiful family member in London, and we'll meet up with Nadine there. So it will be a super fun trip, and then we'll come back home and re-engage. And of course, the whole time we're gone, my cell phone will be on. If anybody has a question, we'll be answering them. It's a 9-hour time difference, but it still can be done.
Let me ask you about that, because I've often heard a couple of questions. One is that when you're on vacation, and you said you're telling me you'll take calls, does that detract from your vacation? I've often heard this theory about when you're on vacation, the old thing about don't take the calls, you celebrate because you got to get rejuvenated. And yet here you are on this great trip and you'll take calls. Is that an interruption?
Well, Judy, it all depends on your relationship to the people who are calling or texting you. When I see your name come up on my phone, I'm elated.
Oh, wow.
I'm happy to talk to you. I'm happy to hear from you. So, it's not a corporate job where, somebody calls you or has demands of you that you're not so happy about. I live in a world that I am extremely excited and happy to hear from the people I am working with, I am friends with, I'm, related to. So no, it's a joy to hear from people.
And I love that. And, I have to ask you about this relationship marketing. You mentioned that word. What does that mean?
To me, it means an opportunity to get to know the most wonderful people like you that otherwise I would never meet. Because I personally only know so many people, but in this brilliant industry, the people I know trust me to introduce me to their friends, to their relatives, to the people that they love and care about. And again, I take that very seriously. I would never breach that trust. I feel honored to get to meet other people's loved ones and friends. And that's what this industry is all about. And then we team up together, you with your friends, and we then together help them with whatever their goal is, better health, better finances, whatever it is. So we create a support system for the people you love and care about. And I am by your loved one's side as I am by your side. So it just expands the circle of support and, joy and happiness, because as your loved one has better health and you tell me about it, I am honored that I get to be part of that improvement.
I love that. Will you please share with us what you offer our listeners today?
Well, I was very fortunate, Jody, in April of 2020 to learn about a company called Lifewave. And the way I learned about it is my husband, who was 74 years old in April of 2020, one morning woke up in excruciating discomfort, couldn't get out of bed, couldn't walk across the room without my help, couldn't get up and down our stairs, couldn't drive the car out of the garage anymore. And I thought, okay, here we are. This is what old age is. It's limiting, not allowing us to live our life anymore the way we used to live it. And it was was a big eye opener. It was a shock, a kick in the gut. And so we did what everybody else did. We went to the doctor. The doctor took x-rays, told my husband that he needed to have 2 knee surgeries. Fortunately, the doctor was honest and said, even after surgery, most possibly he will still be on a lot of heavy duty pain meds. And, the pain meds made my husband very loopy and just changed his personality. It was no good. So I remembered that a friend of mine had introduced me about a year prior to this company called Lifewave. And he had told me about their technology, which are little patches. Let's see if you could see it right here.
We're getting personal today.
Yep. And you simply put them on your body. And we did that with my husband. We put 2 different ones on during the day, 2 different ones at night. And within a short amount of time, my husband was jumping out of bed in the morning, running up and down the stairs, jumping back into his Jaguar convertible that's very low, and he wasn't able to get into that anymore, and racing down the street like a little teenager. And I thought, what is going on? So I had lost most of my hair, Jody. It was all the way down to my scalp.
Oh my
And I
God.
thought, well, what would happen if I would put those little patches on my body? And I did. And I'm very happy to report that my hair is back. That nerve discomfort that I had in my left leg is all gone. And I feel 30 years younger. So we met with the executives of the company. And we were very fortunate. The owner of the company actually did a private Zoom with us and learned a lot about him. We were so impressed. He's the kind of leader, if you want to call him that. I don't think he would consider himself a leader, but he's the kind of gentleman that I gladly will follow. He's kind, he's humble, he's caring. He is dedicated to people having a better life. He is all embracing, inclusive to anyone from anywhere in the world, and is just really walking his talk. And those are the kind of people I'm attracted to. He has a mission and vision much, much bigger than mine. So my vision and mission easily fits into his. And I felt home. So I called a couple of my friends and I said, listen, we found something very special. And I would love it if you trust me enough to give me 20 minutes, 30 minutes of your time to take a look at it together. If it was for you, I would, of course, love it. If not, no worries, we'll still be friends. But I love having a purpose of getting together with people purposefully, and this mission and vision of allowing people to have a better life. I think it's a wonderful purpose, and many of us can share into that.
We are living in the energy of our legacy now. We are living in that vitality. You are an example of that. And I am thrilled that you are on LifeMaven Podcast, because the women who listen to this podcast know there is life after 40, 50, 60. And as I get nearer to 70, it's going to be over 70. Let me tell you.
Yes, absolutely. Vibrant life.